Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Streamed live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation, and I'm joined this morning by my good friend and brother,
Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Morning, Tommy. What's up, baby?
Oh, it's a good morning. Good morning. I'm excited about our conversation today, and we had a lot of conversation before the show, but it's going to be a doozy today.
It's going to be a doozy today because we are ready. We've got our ammunition ready. We are excited about the times that we're living in. And I can tell you that Tommy and I have some answers for you today. And we're going to be looking forward to you weighing in this conversation as well. People are losing their minds over many of the executive orders that our president, Donald Trump, has put forth. And the first question Tommy and I have to ask is why?
Right.
Why would you lose your mind? These things are exactly what the president ran on.
Yeah.
He said, this is what I'm going to do. And so it shouldn't surprise you. I don't know why people keep expecting him to show up differently than what he promised.
When someone tells you who they are, shows you who they are, and then proves to you who they are, believe who they are.
Right. Now, I can tell you some other things because we're on a roll right now. Might as well get on this roll. That many people are upset with me because I am not angry enough at the things that are happening to DEI. I tried to be angry. I tried to be mad and get an ulcer over it, Tommy. And I thought that I actually was going to be able to spend 4 years hating on the president, quietly hoping for his failure. And God showed up. I mean, really, in person, God showed up and said, Eric, that is not how we operate.
Right.
I said, well, hold on, God. I said, well, what about if it's private? What if I just cross my fingers and back, say I love him out of my mouth, say things like I'm praying for the president out of my mouth, but secretly, I'm still pulling against him and jumping up and down on the bouncy board, trying to, he failed again. And God said, no, that's not how we operate, Eric. And what God showed me was that bitterness, anger, hatred, all those things are literally the weapons of the enemy that turn around and eat you up from the inside out. So community, the first thing I'm going to say to you is let it go.
Yep.
Let it go. Whatever hatred, anger you feel, let it go. And the reason why you have to let it go is because if you don't let it go, it's an indication that your faith in God is almost non-existent.
Come on, Eric. Come on.
I had somebody call me up and say, Eric, and they was going off about Trump, and it's over for us. It's over for us. It's over for us. And literally through the phone, Tommy, I could feel my heart and my bodily functions being arrested, being attacked by a message of hopelessness. And it's over. I said, oh, time out. Time out. I can't do that. I can't do that with you, baby. I love you, but I refuse. The president has been elected, duly elected, fairly elected by the people of this nation. He gets to be the president for the next 4 years. What he doesn't get to do is rob me of my hope, my belief, my goals, my vision, my sense that I, Eric Ellis, with my talent, skill, and ability, with my God and my community, can achieve anything that I put my mind to. And so that's what I want to start with today, is that no one, nothing should have the ability to rob you of your hope and your fundamental belief that your talent, skill, ability, potential with your God and your community will still allow you to accomplish any and everything you desire and God has purposed for you.
Eric, I think you're spot on and kicked it off very, very well this morning. I would add that I would encourage all of us and our community to have a longer memory. Some of us have a short memory, and that is what's happened to us in the last month or year or whatever. Like you said, it's new. It's not new.
No, this ain't new.
None of this is new.
No.
And so when you understand the longer arc of life, you understand that humanity has ebbed and flowed in different periods of our society. It's ebbed and flowed. And so what does that mean? That means that when the administration was campaigning and really catering to his particular base, that was a effort to win the role. Right? That's all it was. It was a campaign to win the role. What he was saying coming in, he is doing in some way, shape, or form. But we saw it and we heard it. We saw and heard this 8 years ago, right? It was just not fully baked.
Yeah, fully baked. They baking it now.
Yeah, they're baking it. Now, again, with long memory, Eric, we can go back decades and decades when we've had better and worse days.
Right. Come on now.
So now we do not respond emotionally.
No.
When something happens, when we saw it coming.
Right.
We're speeding too fast.
Right.
The wall is coming.
Right.
We're going to crash into the wall.
Right.
And when you speed too fast and crash into the wall, you don't, oh my gosh, we crashed into the wall.
Right. Right.
I saw it coming.
Yeah.
And what I did is I got out of the way.
Right. And it's coming in slow motion.
It's coming in slow motion. Move out the way and let that collide into itself.
Right.
But we stay the course.
Right. And so I'll tell you now, let me do this. When God heals your mind and your perspective, that doesn't mean that you don't demonstrate empathy for people who may get harmed in some of this transition.
Absolutely.
So I'm in no way not sensitive to all the people that are losing jobs and all the people that are being repositioned and all the people that are scared and concerned. And so my heart, my prayers are with you. I'm not trivializing the times that we're in. I'm just saying to you that we were here before this administration. We will be here after it is over. But we have found many silver linings in this work that we're doing, and we aim to share those with you today. I did have a chance, Tommy and I both had a chance to review the executive order from the President of the United States that is crafted to eliminate DEI. And what I have, certainly there's a lot in there that's trying to eliminate DEI, but let me sort of give you a reality check around DEI, since Tommy and I have spent a great deal of time working in that space. There are a lot of organizations that have done some amazing and brilliant and breakthrough work under the brand and banner of DEI or DEIA or DEIB. We salute all the good work that has been done. But Tommy and I and other practitioners like Kendall Wright and others also recognize that there were too many organizations that got caught up in sort of the performative nature of DEI. And what it got reduced to in too many places was a diversity council that didn't have any power. And they would just present to the diversity council what the company has done. And the diversity council would say, that's fantastic, especially if they were external diversity council, because they couldn't really hold them accountable. They didn't really know what was going on. And so they had a diversity council that oftentimes wasn't empowered to make change. Number two, they had ERGs, employee resource groups. They rejected those at first. But once they realized that they could put a bunch of them out there and they don't cost anything, give them a $500 or $1,000 budget so that they could make banners or have little picnics or something like that, and then brag about it. And then the third thing that they did was they did diversity training. Listen to us clearly. For all employees, we trained them all. 30 minutes, and online video. Tommy, wasn't that done in a lot of places?
Yes, sir.
Performative. And I can tell you in most places, the representation needle that our president is so concerned about, you don't have to worry about that, bro. It didn't change.
No, not at all.
In most places. Some of the most elite organizations, the most significant leadership organizations, if you look at people of color and their numbers, they haven't changed in a decade or so. And so we would say to you, there's a part of us that says to DEI,
yeah, good riddance. Good riddance.
Because it looked like we got something. Have you ever gotten a prize? It came in a big box. You remember it? Open up now the next size box, open it up next, down to a little box with nothing in it. For too many of us, DEI has been that. And so I'm going to show you something in the language of the president's executive order that I think is huge. Tommy, we want to react to this notion of should we be sort of mourn the death of some of the things that have been done around DEI.
So, Eric, those who have been in the work for some time or even a short time, who actually know what the work is, the work of creating a diverse workplace, a diverse society where people's uniquenesses are valued, appreciated, embraced, and welcomed. Diversity.
Right.
The uniquenesses of individuals.
Right.
Equity is to ensure equality, right, which is the same treatment for all. Equity is customized treatment. So we have people, individuals who have different needs, different wants, different interests, aspirations. Can we meet those people where they are?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take, for example, in healthcare. In healthcare, there was a big push around DEI, particularly around equity, health equity.
Right.
And so the health equity was
safety.
That we had patients and families coming into the hospitals and healthcare facilities needing different services.
Right.
So we can't just say, okay, I see you coming in here. Let's operate on your heart. It's my ankle.
Right.
Literally. So and I don't want to minimize this as well, but equity is customized service. Inclusion is where we not only have the different people, different thoughts, experiences, backgrounds, skills, and competencies, merits, but we're also maximizing them. So it's not just a one-off. And so sometimes with the employee resource groups or affinity groups, as they were often called, that those were pacifier opportunities.
Right.
They were pacifiers.
And when you're in a desert, because my wife was a big fan of ERGs. When you're in a desert and you feel like there's no water anywhere, and ERG for many people has saved their lives.
Yes, it did.
Being able to come together with an affinity group of people who understand what it's like to live the reality that you live. We get it.
Yeah.
And that's why the trick worked.
Yes.
Because we were desperate for somebody to say, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
But be clear that all too often it didn't net a whole lot in terms. Now, I know there are times at GE when CEOs leveraged those ERGs, met with them, took the knowledge to make institutional change. Wow.
Yep.
But that wasn't the status quo.
Well,
that wasn't the norm.
I'll tell you where it used to push back a lot, Eric. It's when the work of DEI, DEIA, DEIB had progressed far enough in organizations, corporate, nonprofit, civic organizations, and there were metrics and measurements tied to certain initiatives, i.e. goals. And then when those measurements and metrics were tied to or attempted to be tied to compensation, that's when they push back. Because now
you're gonna make us do something.
You're gonna make us do it, and it's gonna impact my revenue or my income. And I know and those in the smaller circles know that this work is performative.
We ain't trying to do nothing.
We're
You told
not.
us we ain't to do nothing.
And so that's when the cat was out the bag that no, this is a pacifier. And so ultimately, Eric, the topic we're going to get to, ultimately, in the work, when you're truly doing the work, if it's around diversity, equity, and inclusion, fairness, there's no discrimination, no harassment,
That's right.
no
That's
favoritism,
right. That's right.
no bias.
That's right.
We should actually work ourselves out of the work.
Right. Right.
That this is a beloved community, as Dr. King talked about. So you don't stand up there in inauguration and try to say that I'm going to honor Dr. King's legacy.
Right.
His legacy was moving from the color of one's skin to the content of one's
I don't know
character.
how you can quote that out your mouth.
When you know you don't have the character.
Right.
That's when it shows itself, Eric.
Right.
Yep.
Last salvo, and then I'm gonna move to a new direction because we got some answers for you today. I promise you we do. Tommy, remember when they came out with the CEO Action Now?
Yep.
This big thing where the CEOs came together, and here's what they said to people like Tommy and I: get out of the way.
We got it.
Move to the back. Our CEO is here now, and they're taking it over. And boldly, CEOs would call other CEOs up, and they'd say, "John, this is Gary.
Yes, Gary.
We're involved in this thing called the CEO Action Now, and we're going to take this over
Yes.
from these bad practitioners and non-dominant culture groups. So we really don't have the power that we have, and we just wanted to make sure that you were in on." I didn't see your name on the signature line. Can we count on it?
You can, Gary.
Now, I'm going to tell you, don't worry, it's not going to be much. You're not going to have to give much time around this or many things. There's just a few small commitments that the CEOs are bearing in on.
Unpack that for me.
And yeah, we'll talk about it later. But don't worry about it. It's not anything that you're probably not already doing. That's what that was. Now, they swore to us that the CEOs were going to take this to a new stratosphere. And my question today is, where are the 3,000-4,000 CEOs that signed that agreement? Where y'all at? Well, we've seen where that.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them not only de-signed the document, they also made a public statement, like the disciples did when they had picked Jesus up. They came through and said, "Peter, what you with Jesus? Jesus? Who? I know of no man named Jesus." Well, we saw you the other day at the sermon. No, that wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Right. So that's where we're at. And Tommy and I could have told you, 5 years ago that that's what would be happening. So here's what I'm saying to you. Let me just accelerate. Tommy, anything you want to say about that? CEO actions and just the notion that we didn't know what we were doing and we got to.
Eric, we're on the same exact line, right? I have been thinking about this, praying about this past week, right? What happened, et cetera. Only thing I would add on this is, to Eric's point earlier, some folks are up in a tizzy.
Yep.
And screaming, pulling their hair out.
Yep.
It's Armageddon.
Right.
And then others are just watching.
Right. And there's good news in this.
Yeah.
There's good news in this. The good news is, when many of us had moved away from our proverbial hoods, maybe some of you thought you wasn't a minority no more.
Come on.
You weren't marginalized no more. We don't have the issues that they have. We're better off than them. Now we're all being thrown in the same ugly bucket together. And I can tell you who's in it. It's Black people. It's Hispanic Latinos. It's poor white people. It is the LGBT, everybody. We're all in that same pot, and we are beginning to boil. So heating up that rump now, and we're all in there saying, "Hey, how did I get in the pot?" And you know who's not in the pot? Yeah, that's right. We're all in there doing that. It's hot in here. Who's not in the pot is the billionaires.
Right.
They are not in the pot. And Trump has come in with such wealth, triple down, triple down. Like if you had coupons that you 3 for 1, that's what it is today. They are running to DC because he's saying open season for billionaires. Make me richer.
Yep.
And I promise you, you can make all kind of mergers, monopolies, anything. TikTok, we're going to take it from the Chinese. We're going to give it to one of my friends.
Yeah. No RFP.
No RFP. So, and now we don't need that for y'all anyway, because what we did with destroying DEI is we got y'all out the picture.
Yeah.
Now we no longer have to consider you, not even in a Rooney Rule way, where we just bring you in an interview and never get anything. We don't have to do that no more.
Hey, Eric, when you're talking, man, listen. And so it's he brought in the billionaires for the race to the trillionaire.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So you have Elon Musk, for example, he's 300 billion.
Right.
Plus 360 billion. Not all of that, of course, is liquid. And so Trump has historically been using other people's money to pay everything.
Oh, he's up now.
Oh, why? Because his wallet is the U.S. Treasury.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get it twisted that those billions of dollars going to Lockheed Martin for defense funding, it's Lockheed Martin, you get a piece, I get a piece. Right? I'm talking about I as an individual.
Right.
Just give me 10% of $1 billion.
Right.
On one project.
Right. Now you're gonna have to check on my son on this, but let me tell you, Tommy and I are going to at times seem like we're talking out of both sides of our mouth, because we are. On one hand, I'm going to show you some things that are concerning about the new administration. But on the other hand, I'm going to tell you, go get some of that Trump cryptocurrency. Go get it. I got to check again with my son, Evan, but all indications are go buy it.
About to pop.
Because he's going to make sure that it's successful. So you can't be sitting around sulking in the corner talking about how I hate this man. I can't believe it.
Ooh, that's good.
Go get it.
Good, Eric.
Go get that money right now, because we can do two things at the same time. We can stand next to our value systems. And we can also make sure that we're not left behind some things that the writing is on the wall. And so that's what we want to say to you now. Let me give you the silver lining. So I decided, Tommy as well, to look at the executive order for eliminating DEI. And here's what I found, and I'm going to tell you, I think that this is the better way for us. Now, everybody's not with me on this yet. Maybe it's a slow burn, but it is titled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunities. Now, we could stop with ending illegal discrimination. Now, let's read on. Section 1, purpose. Longstanding federal civil rights laws protect individual Americans from discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. These civil rights protections serve as a bedrock supporting equality of opportunity for all Americans. As president, I want you to listen to me here. As president, I have a solemn duty to ensure that these laws are enforced for the benefit of all Americans. I almost didn't need to read anything else after I read that, Tommy.
Yep.
I said, what? You see, this is a game. They're trying to game us, and they're trying to use civil rights laws to now tear down things that are put in place for marginalized people. But you're not going to beat us at our own game.
Yeah.
And so when he said that, again, as president, I have a solemn duty to ensure that these laws are enforced for the benefit of all Americans. Now, I thought that President Trump was going to seek to get rid of civil rights legislation almost. He's not. He's saying, I agree. And he says, I have a solemn responsibility. So let me tell you what we get to trade. We get to trade DEI efforts that were picnics, that were monthly celebrations, that were activities, events too often. We get to trade those for ending illegal discrimination. And I love the detailed way in which the government is going to go after illegal discrimination. They're not interested in the traditional discrimination, which is also illegal. But I'm telling you, every DEI office, change your branding to eliminating the office of eliminating illegal discrimination. You see, what the Supreme Court was looking at was the way the institutions were trying to have their cake and eat it too. And then, Tom, I want you to jump in and react here. Institutions were saying, I don't want to admit to bias or unfairness or structural isms. Right. I just want to do DEI. And so to some extent, the Supreme Court said, why are you doing DEI if you don't have no issues? Well, no, we have some, but they're unspoken, unsaid, undiscovered. But just let us do these set-asides and all this special stuff. Nope. Supreme Court said, no, that's over. You're going to have to own it to do it. If you don't own something, then you can't do something. So that's where we are, and we're going to join the president on this notion of ending illegal discrimination. And so what it forced us to do, last word, is that it's going to force organizations, in my view, to do the work to identify all of the ways in which illegal discrimination is occurring.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to unpack a little bit, Eric. If you are a federally funded organization, for-profit receiving some federal contracts, nonprofit receiving federal funding, civic organization, a mom and pop or a startup organization to help young people in the public sector or even the urban and rural communities. If you are receiving these fundings and you have employees, you have staff, how might the checks and balances happen whereby we are eliminating illegal or ending illegal discrimination, but in the next 3 months we're receiving funding and we've hired 10 new staff, all of a particular demographic, white women, Black women, etc. How might we hold these organizations accountable if the charge is to end illegal discrimination, but now they're doing overt but still illegal discrimination?
Right. So here's a new skill set you're going to have to develop. So we're constantly growing and moving. And so what happened is civil rights legislation was put in place. Affirmative action was then trying to help organizations take affirmative action to make sure they were being for it. And then we saw they weren't changing. They weren't inclusive. They didn't look any different a year or two later than they did back when there was no civil rights legislation. So then we started with quotas. Oh, I see. Y'all ain't trying to change. You got 12% Blacks in your city. Give me 12%. So we went that way. And then we said, we may not have 12% talent in that community because they've been marginalized. So then we finally came around to, you have to make sure that you have the same percentage of talent that's available, of sort of the availability data. But all of that was us having to carve out, and we enthusiastically as Blacks said, no, make sure you have it in there, African Americans, 5%, 8% African Americans. Put it in there, because you're not going to just leave us out and go get other people and not use us. So I'm sorry to say to you, you're going to have to now let go of the training wheels of calling out your thing. You're not going to be able to use the training wheels of Black employees and Black. You're going to have to be as smooth and as advanced as discrimination has been. Silent. And nobody says to you, I'm going to treat you bad and call you names and hold you back your entire career. Nobody says that to you. It just happens. So we're going to have to find ways to make sure that equity and things happen.
Yep.
Where we don't have to. So now, look, Mom, no hands.
Yep.
Blindfolded. Get change to happen. And then study. So that's where we're headed. It's a more advanced way. And then when it looks like an excess of women of color got hired, they say, well, is this a program? No. We just hired the best.
Yeah.
We were looking at, hold on. Here's what we did. Let's get our paperwork out, everyone. Everyone get your paperwork out. We wanted to make sure that we were ending illegal discrimination. But for us, we were focused on the restoring merit-based opportunities. That's why we have an abundance of women of color. Because I think, last thing, Pete Hegseth just got accepted as the Secretary of Defense. I promise you, I could find in just a half a minute, I could find 5 women of color, white women, that would be far more qualified if we're if we're looking for merit. A guy that hasn't managed over 100 people, has not managed a budget of excess of 10 million and messed that up. A guy that has been drunk multiple times and seen as a rogue womanizer. I don't think that qualifies for meritocracy.
Yeah. So how do we counter? And we are, it's everyone. It's everyone. It's those who have the merits. It's those who do not have the merits, but they're either getting passed over based on favoritism, not being in the know, not having the right connection and or relationship. Because for the majority population, Caucasian, white men, white women, it's favoritism that really is their barrier.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right.
It's favoritism.
Right.
It's nepotism.
Right.
At its highest level.
Right. Oh, hold it. Come over here, Tommy.
Yep.
So see, here's what we want to tell you. I thank you for what you just said there. My daughter said it last night. She said, Daddy, you've been telling people you couldn't selfishly just fight for yourself. You were actually going to have to fight for others. So that means, sorry, marginalized minorities who only want to work on issues related to marginalized minorities. You're going to have to care about other groups.
Yes.
You're going to have to do what Dr. King did, and that's why there was an acceleration to take his life.
Come on.
Because he said, it's not just black people that are being left out, but poor whites.
Come on now.
Are being left out. I've been working on behalf of white males for the last 25 years because the people group that I've trained more than any other over my 34 years of being in business has been white males. I've not just taught them, but I've learned from them. And when they would say to me, Eric, this feels unfair right here. What do you think? And I'd say, hey, that's a good point. Why are they only concerned about our biases, but nobody else has to work on theirs? Okay, you're right. Everybody else got an ERG. I don't have one. Why not? Okay. And so what I'm saying to you is when I do focus groups with white males and I ask them questions like this, how many of you feel like there are less opportunities to move from the union to management today than there were 10 years ago? Raise your hand. All the hands go up. I said, how many of you have been impacted by favoritism where somebody who was not as good as others on the team got promoted into a position? Raise your hand. All the hands go up. How many of you have seen a situation where somebody got a job over you because they had a college degree, but they didn't know a tenth of what you know, and you literally had to train them the whole job so that they could be your boss? Raise your hand. All hands go up. I said, well, my job is not to fight for any particular group. So I don't just fight for women, people of color, LGBTQ, neurodivergent, differently able, disabled employees. I said, I'll fight for you as well. I said, all of those things that you just mentioned, it is my responsibility to fight for you to make sure that you're never left behind for any reason other than a lack of talent, skill, and ability and potential. And then I say, here's my business card. if my company, if the way you see this being implemented around your company is not consistent with what I just said, here's my card. I want you to hold me accountable. And they just hug me when they leave and shake my hand and say, Eric, I got to apologize, man. I didn't know what this was.
Yeah.
That is where we've been. That is where we're going. I'm telling you, what will tie all of us together is being in many ways in the same boat. And I would say to you that we might be surprised that that boat is as high as 95 to 98% of the people in this country.
Sure. Yeah.
And that is the top 0.5%.
Yeah.
That's really making all these crazy calls.
Yeah.
And so let me say one other thing. So let me go back to this, and then Tommy and I are going to go in another direction to ask you to jump in as well. Now, there's a lot of sections in this executive order that talks about foolishness and sort of, just defines DEI in crazy ways. So I mean, you knew that was going to be in there. So don't worry about that. That's all going to be in there. But then it says, the federal government is charged with enforcing our civil rights laws.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. The purpose of this order is to ensure that it does so by ending illegal preferences and discrimination.
Yep.
Again, jump in there, y'all. Say, I know you didn't invite me.
Yeah.
I'm used to going places that I ain't been invited. Just jump right on the boat and make sure that they're looking at this in a fulsome way for all Americans.
Yeah.
The policy. It is the policy of the United States to protect the civil rights of all Americans and to promote individual initiative, excellence, and hard work. I therefore order all executive departments and agencies to terminate all discriminatory and illegal preferences, and I'll stop there.
Yeah.
I don't have to read nonsense.
No.
Simon, we can use that, can't we?
Absolutely. So we have to be wise now, Eric. We have to be wise. And here's why I say this, because when we think of the original writers of certain documents that govern this country, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, et cetera, when at the time when they were saying all people, they were not referring to all people.
Right.
They were only referring to themselves. And at this time, we're talking about white men who own property, not just white men or white women,
right?
But you had to own property. You have to have had access to capital, which was a tight-knit circle. And that access provided you an opportunity to purchase not a few acres, but thousands upon thousands of acres.
Right.
Fast forward into the Gilded Age, the big boom of industry, where there were no taxes on industry. So these tycoons and barons, they were really making $1 on the dollar.
Right.
And therefore you can have the Astors, the Vanderbilts, the et cetera, who had the power, these oligarchs had the power to go to the United States government to say what the government will and will not do.
Right.
And so therefore the government spoke for the small group of people, not for all the people.
Right.
It never did.
It never has. Right.
Never has. So now fast forward to today, and we hear some language around the federal government is charged with enforcing our civil rights laws.
Woo!
Our, capital O, capital U, capital R.
Our.
Yep. The purpose of this order is to ensure that it does so by ending illegal preferences. So anytime there is preferential treatment, identification of preferences, we have to call it out.
Yep.
We, all of us, call it out. That's your son and your son's son and your son's father, right? I'm sorry, your son's girlfriend or your in-laws, etc. That's preferential, particularly if that person has no background in the field or industry or in the trade. They have either no experience or very little experience when they are slated against other folks.
Mm-hmm.
And if you, on paper, you look at check by check, merit by merit, do you have a college degree? No. Does the other three candidates have a college degree? Yes. Does the job description ask for a college degree? Yes. Therefore, we only have 3 candidates available for us to pursue, those who have a college degree. We're not going to get into the muck of a college degree or 5 years experience, equivalent experience, right? We're not going to do that because it's merit-based. I would ask our community to do the research on per capita. How many of us have college degrees? Right? Trades, etc. We're gonna get there.
Right. So so let me give you some other. I hate to be waking people. Thank you, Terry. We said, girl, I'm so glad to have you with us this morning. We got some answers though. Yeah, I'm disappointed by some of the loss around DEI, but on the other hand, I'm not. I would have never become a minority contractor. Toyota made me.
Exactly.
I got the contract, and then they said, we need you to go get certified. So that's when I got certified. Now, I was attending the National Minority Supplier Development Council conference every year for probably 25 years. I had the best fun in the world going to that event. Yeah. There were parties. The big corporations were there. We got a chance to be a part of the trade show. We got a chance to shake the hands of the diversity, chief diversity officer at so many of these big companies. They loved me. I loved them. They knew my name, and I knew their name. But over 25 years, I may have gotten 1 contract from attending.
Yeah. Come on.
So how sad should I be that DEI is no longer going to be there? I'm going to say to you that the same things that we had to do before DEI, we have to do now. And I'm saying that we're going to be in agreement with President Donald Trump that we have to be committed to eliminating illegal discrimination. Now, let me give you some other levers. I'm just going to give you a couple other levers because this is your power. You must understand where your power is. See, we're saying that part of what we can do is encourage offices of eliminating illegal discrimination.
Yep.
So we can help to study corporations to see how they're operating with their customers, with their suppliers. Many of them are getting rid of their commitment to minority suppliers. Yep. And my daughter was sad about that because there's so many things that are happening in these stores because of supplier diversity. And now they said, oh my goodness, the support is going away. Well, walk away easily, companies, at your own peril.
Yes.
Because see, we get to be the judge on this. We don't have to ask Donald Trump or anybody. If you aren't hiring us, promoting us, other marginalized people, if you aren't creating fair and equitable opportunities, we do not have to do business with you.
Period.
That is where our strength comes from, is our ability to make choices about what we do. And the good news is we are living in a generation today where people are busy. They're so busy and worn out and burnt out that they don't have time to protest.
Yep.
So most of us were sitting on the sidelines saying, Tommy, Eric, go. Tommy, Eric, go. Tommy, Eric, go. Fix these places.
Yeah.
I understand it. Yeah. We tired too. But now you boiling in the same pot. When that pot gets hot enough, we'll figure out how to stand up for all people in order to make sure that the only people that aren't happy at the end of these 4 years are the billionaires. Tommy.
Yeah. So, community, thanks for chiming in. And again, we want to invite you not only to see the words that you're posting in the chats, but also share your voice, share your image. We're not going to pay any NIL funding, name, image, and likeness, right? But we want to see you. We want to see you. And Dr. Wright, the micro compartmentalize not all people, just the people like themselves. Absolutely, right? Roger says this: the government had to create set aside contracts because minority companies were being shut out.
Right.
I'll add to that. So the question is, did the government have to create the set asides? Or was it a matter of the minority companies showing and proving and voicing that they could bring value?
Right.
And then the majority companies in construction, they're called primes. The prime companies said, they used to always say, we can do full service construction. Right? And then there was the noise from the minority groups, minority contractors, even minority primes saying, we can do just as good of a job. We have all the credentials. And so then the government did their analysis and realized that from an economic inclusion perspective, to lower the cost to build stuff, construction, we should diversify the suppliers to create a space of competition, right? To drive up value, drive up service, and drive down price. And so that set aside became, in certain states, it was 8%, 10%, 12%, right? And then we realized that although there was a set aside, the mentality of the prime contractors was that the set aside was a charitable outreach event, that they were offering up charity to these woeful, poor minority companies. But in reality, what was happening was that the workforce, from a construction perspective, and I'm not going to stay here long, started to really be more competitive on the Caucasian and white side, and that the workforce and the businesses on the minority side increased in volume. Right. So they literally had more workers who had more hands-on direct experience doing the work on the minority business side.
Right.
And then we just said, the government moved to, it makes good business sense. Right. Now, with that being said, if you look at our administration, he started his career, embracing some money from his father in real estate. He knows who builds what and how. Right. Right. Again, I'm not saying that 60% of the builders are African American or Latino, but there is a significant number of folks. The set aside language itself was flawed in its beginning.
Absolutely.
I understand the reason. Absolutely. It was flawed. Right. And
they were throwing a stereotype on us that we're assuming that we're unqualified. So they had to put in there. But let's continue. Yeah. So here's another problem that will be dealt with through this. That because there is going to be an impact on a decrease in diverse representation within corporations, within opportunities. And so in part, it's going to force us to utilize our talent to create more businesses.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that will come out of this, is that we must take the medicine that we've been proposing to all these majority organizations that take advantage of, hey, use me, I'm talented, use me. So they say, okay, they're over there noise making, put them in the entry level, and let's see if that over amount of talent in the entry level, oh man, that's great.
Right.
We got that kind of talent at the bottom. So that ain't helping you. And the other thing is, here's the other thing that I used to hate about attending the National Minority Supplier Development Conference. Here's what it would look like too often. We get to a room, get to an event early. The minorities were all in there. And here's what they'd be doing. We're all in there, business owners. And all of us have got our, face smashed to the window, looking out the door saying, when are the big corporations going to come? When they going to come? When they going to get here? This ain't nothing. These hors d'oeuvres ain't even that good.
Right.
And we literally would press our nose and our lips against glass, looking for the big corporations to come to the event, never looking around the room at all the other business people in the room and saying, how can we do business with each other? When I went to WeBank, the women's event, I went there as a speaker. They invited me there as a speaker, and man, they were clamoring. They bought all my books. They were taking me around, and women were introducing me to other women-owned business, saying, Eric's amazing. You ought to do business with him. That's where we're going to have to go, you all, is that we're finally going to have to look toward one another. Maybe you don't have an interest in it. I would say that because of bias, stereotyping, and discrimination, we don't think as highly of ourselves as we do of others. And that's going to have to change.
So I do want to pivot and then come back, Eric.
Right. We'll come to this next week, I think.
Yeah. So you triggered my thinking here. And community, please chime in. Two different sides of this fence. One is, if you are a person of color currently working in a corporation or a large nonprofit organization, how do you navigate these waters today? And again, a person of color who is the minority in the organization.
Right. Bounce.
Right.
Sorry. Tell me you ain't got it. I ain't say that. Bounce. That's what this is going to become. Oh, you don't want me? Bounce. I'm out. Quick. With a quickness. Don't waste no time. Bounce.
Hey.
As soon as I see him tearing down all the DEI stuff, bounce. Say, oh, whoops. This is not going to be good for me.
Supplier diversity. Yep. Okay. So, all right. So now you're in a nonprofit advocacy organization. And you're holding up the banner for your particular culture, your particular community.
Right.
And so how do you weather the storm as you're seeing from a federal level these mandates and bannings coming down? Now it's going into the private sector, where you never thought it would reach a McDonald's, a Walmart.
It will go through there just like these fires in LA.
And it's coming where? Your way?
Absolutely.
Coming down toward the nonprofit. So it went from the private, for-profit, we'll start at the federal, public, going to the private and for-profit. It's leaning and moving. This tsunami is going toward the nonprofit. What do you do?
So powerless people, let me tell you this, and I hate to say this, it just feels like it has no character to it. It has no integrity to it. Why would you look around at the least among you who are getting crumbs and say, I want the crumbs off your plate too? Really? That's what we're doing? We're taking away the grants that were set up for Appalachian women, for women of color trying to enter STEM. There was a little grant for them. Give me that grant. It's not open to everybody. Really? That's where we are? That just feels harsh. But here's the good news. The good news is that you and I are living in a time where we can boycott at the speed of sound. I mean, this thing can go across the country quickly. And ultimately, just like we are now benefiting from the collective vote of the American people, we have the president that America wanted. I'm not going to complain about that. I'm going to look and see how I can help. I'm going to celebrate when he says he's going after all these gangs in our country, wants to get them out. I'm with that. when he says he wants to get together with AI bosses and look at how we can be at the forefront of that, I'm with that. When the president says that I'm going after China with more tariffs because of the fentanyl that they're making, selling it to Mexico and it's coming in this country, I'm with that. You see, you're going to have to come to a place where you are not just filled with hate and anger the whole way. You are looking up on yourself and saying, I'll announce positive things that the president does. Yep. I'll challenge where needed, but I'll find out how we all together can look out for each other.
Yeah, that's good, Eric. I think that we have a responsibility to be as well informed as possible.
Right.
And again, when we're talking about the federal government, I can only speak for myself here that I'm not in the federal government.
Right.
And so my information is coming through some other platform.
Right.
I am not in those meetings. I am not even invited and probably not even welcomed into certain meetings. However, as you mentioned before, and our community knows, our greatest strength is our own freedom.
Absolutely.
It's our own self.
Absolutely.
So I want to say this, and I wanted to speak on Make It Plain, for example. Started a company almost 30 years ago, Make It Plain Consulting. We are a human resource management company. We specialize in HR management, workforce development, performance coaching, and economic inclusion. That's what we do. Those are our 4 pillars of services, our business services.
Right.
Now, within the workforce development area, we offer some training.
Right.
Situational leadership, management training, et cetera.
Right.
Even in our human resources management, we will do assessments, organizational assessments, risk management assessments.
Yep.
I'm saying this now, and for 30 years, we've been doing this. And even today, people believe that Make It Plain Consulting is a DEI company. In my introduction right now, good people, I never said DEI.
Right. Your face did.
Yeah. My face did.
DEI. I ain't have to ask you. You must be a DEI guy. How profound. What led you to that conclusion? Well, the glasses. It's the glasses, Tommy, and the watch. They look like DEI to me. They look like DEI to me. So here's what I'm going to offer to you. Tommy and I are offering this to you for your protest. We got it. It's going to sound self-serving, but I promise you this is the way to go. Your protest, if you're mad about getting rid of DEI, is to do business with Tommy, myself, and everybody else in the DEI industry. Because Tommy and I do everything. We have essential leadership learnings around empathic leadership, psychological safety, creating a sense of belonging. We do all of that work. If you want to protest, do not find yourself going to Washington to march back and forth. Start utilizing your influence today. Come here, Tommy. I'm tired of us not being able to sometimes say, like the guy did on The Voice. Shelton would do this. Me. That's what Tommy and I are doing right now. Exactly. Me. I have to say it. I wish you would say it. But if you don't, then we have to say it. But if we never say it and you never do it, we've got a direct line to heaven. And God says, I got you. But if you want to protest, that's the protest that you can operate out of. It's trying to make sure that you're standing next to your values and you're trying to help somebody else. I'll help other DEI consultants get business, even if it's not me. I'll point toward them. But we have to recognize our power. And until we finally get up and say, I will not be perpetually waiting with my face pressed to the glass for somebody in the dominant culture to come rescue me. That makes no sense at all.
We invite everyone, Eric, to join the fight against discrimination.
Right. And we want to join in the spirit of the 47th president of the United States when he has an executive order that's titled Ending Illegal Discrimination.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you all. We were wound up today, weren't we, Tom?
Yeah, we were.
We were wound up today.
Yeah.
Because we're here to say to you, and make sure you tell somebody you heard it from us, we're not afraid. Mm-hmm. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We have a mandate from heaven to reconcile people one to another. And that means to love them all, both those that are with us and those that oppose us. We want you to have a great week, and then we want you to come back next week at the same time to join again in another Diversity Conversations. Take care of each other. Bye now.